Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's head-to-head comparison, let's take a look at the 2025 BMW X3 xDrive30i and the 2025 Audi Q5. I borrowed both of these from Audi Northlake and Hendrick BMW Northlake, so take a look at their links down in the description, as well as the full detailed reviews on both of these models, so that way you can see more driving impressions and more details for both of these. So let's start off with the MSRPs for both of these smaller size SUVs. For the BMW, they start right around $49,000. In today's video, this model is closer to $55,000. And for the Audi, they start at $48,000. Today's model is closer to $58,000. So these were the two closest MSRPs that I could find. So we have a lot of similarities with their MSRPs. Well, let's work our way to what powers both of these. For the Q5, this has the 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbo with the hybrid system. It's paired to the 7-speed automatic, and it pumps out 261 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. For the X3, this has a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo with the hybrid system, paired to an 8-speed automatic, and it pumps out 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Both of these models are all-wheel drive. We have curb weights of 4,100 pounds for the Audi, 4,200 pounds for the BMW. 0 to 60 is going to be 5.7 seconds for the Q5, 6 seconds for the X3. We have top speeds of 130 miles an hour for the Audi, 155 for the BMW. And then for their MPGs, you're looking at 21 and 28 for the X3 versus 23 and 28 for the Audi. And then these can actually tow when properly equipped. 4,000 pounds for the Audi, 4,400 pounds for the BMW. So with those specs out of the way, let's take a look at the exterior styling, where we have a lot of differences. For the Audi, this has the massive hexagonal grille. This model is also equipped with the forward-facing camera, all of these sensors. There's LEDs, of course, for the headlights, and then some brushed accents. And this even gets distance pacing. So those sensors are down in the lower trim accents there. For the BMW, this has the kidney grille with the brushed surround, so very similar. There is a sensor right in this section of the grille, though, for that distance pacing. A smaller set of LEDs up front that have a darker housing to them than on the Audi. And then there's also some trim accents on both sides that are a little bit slimmer. And then the Audi has 4 lines that come down the hood versus the 2 on the outside, and then the 2 that surround the BMW badge in the middle. So very different front ends to them. It looks like the BMW also is a little bit higher than the Audi in terms of ground clearance too. Now, as we work our way to the side, you'll notice that we have very different wheels. The BMW has this multi-spoke 2-tone design to it versus a little bit more simple of a design for the Audi. We have some fender arches for the Audi versus just a cleaner look on the BMW there. There's also the S-Line badge. Now, both of these have power folding side mirrors. For the BMW, this model just has the turn signal. For the Audi, you have the turn signal and a camera underneath. There's also a moonroof for the Audi with some brushed accents for the roof racks. For the BMW, full moonroof, gloss black for those accents. And then gloss black for the window trim. Window trim matches the roof racks on the Audi. Now, as we take a step back, they have much different looks to them. For the BMW, it's a little bit more squared off, especially with the rear end design, versus a little bit more sloping on the Audi there. And then in terms of the lines that run down the side, you'll notice that crisp point just above the door handles versus the BMW. It's a little bit more subtle, but there's still that line there. And then you have some more lines in the lower side skirt, and then an additional trim accent on the Audi there. So very different in their side shapes. And we have the flush door handles versus the traditional door handles. Now in back, there's the body colored spoiler, brake light, wiper blade, LEDs. You have the backup camera, all the sensors, and then you can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath for that power lift gate. Now for the Q5, you have a good bit of space. There's also some storage nets. You can fold the back seats down from and back, and you do get a spare tire underneath the floor with a little bit of space. You can also fold down those back seats too to give yourself that much more interior space. Now on the BMW, we have a little bit different of a design for the spoiler, but third brake light, wiper blade, LEDs for the taillights, backup camera. You'll notice though that we don't have any visible exhaust pipes. There's just gloss black for the entire lower section there. Now as we work our way to the interior, same thing. You can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath for the power lift gate, where you probably have a comparable amount of space here. You have a storage pocket on one side. There's also some hooks where you can place items. There's a 12-volt too. Underneath this floor, you get a spare as well. and some storage there. You could even place the cover down below if you wanted to. Now you can't fold the back seats down from here unless you reach all the way in and grab them and give them a push. So I guess technically you could do it, they're just not as close as in the Audi there. And then you have the same buttons up top to close that. Now as we work our way to the interiors, you have the proximity door handles so you can lock and unlock it. All the interiors are going to vary depending on your preference. We have Bang & Olufsen here, wood trim, and then this brown interior. Now, for these back seats, you have this release here that you can fold the seats down with, and then you can also use that to recline them too. Now, at 5'10", I have plenty of space. You have vents, temperature adjustments, auxiliaries, some storage here. You can also move these seats forwards and backwards. So you have those adjustments too. And then with being able to recline these slightly, I still have a lot of headspace. So that just gives you another added comfort for the back of this vehicle. Right in the middle, you have the armrest and cup holders. And then you can fold down this middle seat individually if you would like to. And a look at visibility over this corner, you have that cargo window there, so you can easily see out of that and the back glass for this rear section of the vehicle. Now over on the BMW, we do not have the proximity door handle on the back. So I do have to go up front and push on unlock and then hop into the back from here. Now for this model, a little bit more simple. We have a little bit more storage in the lower section, however, and then all the blue stitching and these materials in the upper section with a much different design around that release handle. Now these seats do not recline. So you have this control here where you can lock them into place and that is it. They do not move forwards or backwards either. But at 5'10", I have plenty of space. You have an area that you can attach tablets. You have vents in the middle, a little bit of storage and some auxiliaries. And at my height, I have maybe a little bit more headroom, to be honest. And even though you can't recline these seats, they're reclined slightly. So they give you a good, comfortable feel. Now, right in the middle, we have the armrest and cup holders, and then you can fold down this middle seat just like you can in the Audi. Now, here's where we have a much different look. We have a larger cargo window that's actually pushed farther back and a larger pillar right there. But you still have a good bit of glass to see around that. Now, I have full detailed reviews on both of these models, so I'm just going to highlight the key points here in today's video. We have memory seating adjustments, a fan control, side mirrors are power folding, and then you get storage in the lower section, and then automatic adjustments for these seats. This particular model has the upgraded seats. So we have the Alcantara and leather, which is nice. Now there's also leather for the steering wheel. And we can start this up where we have pretty large paddle shifters with a boost setting. All the cruise control settings are on the left. Right side, you have volume, shortcuts to your music, Bluetooth, and then you can also go through some content for the digital gauge cluster here. So you can go through all of these settings, and then you can even adjust the layout too. So depending on how you want to view that information. You have an adjustment for a vent on this one side. And then as we work our way to the infotainment system, you have all of the controls in the lower section, or you can use the dial down below. So you can use all of these controls if you don't want to use it as a touchscreen system. And then you can get into your climates here. There's your navigation and music, and then heated seats and heated steering wheel for this model. There's also the ambient lighting. You'll notice too, it runs around that trim accent for the door handles. It's also around this entire U-shaped design, where you have plenty of storage with cup holders in the middle. There's volume and tuning. You even get different driving modes for this. So you can go into all of these. It's going to change the lighting too. And you can get into some of these where it will change the sunshades. So it's going to open it up for expressive here. So you have a few of those kind of gimmicks, but it gives you a neat graphic to look at. You have some other shortcuts there. You can get into the camera system too. So that way you can go through all of these as needed. And of course you can just put this into reverse using the shifter down below. There's also drive and sport mode, and then you have park behind that. You get an auxiliary with some storage down below, and then plenty of space in the glove box there. Up top, you have garage door buttons with the rear view, and then your controls for the sunshade. Now for the X3, this is a solid piece of glass, so there's no actual sunroof. You just have the sunshade to open and close. But here's a look at visibility over both shoulders, where you can easily see, so it's not all that hard for the pillar shape in the back. But as we work our way to the Audi now, you'll notice that there's memory seating adjustments, power folding and heated side mirrors, and then a little bit of space down below, and you get automatic front seats too. Again, interiors will vary depending on what you would like. So we have the solid leather steering wheel with paddle shifters. You have cruise and distance pacing down below, heated steering wheel, volume tuning, Bluetooth voice commands, and then you have a little bit of info to go through the gauge cluster here. Maybe not quite as configurable, but you have these different views that you can get into with some of this information here. So still is going to give you some info to look at. Now you do get storage on this side, along with all the headlight adjustments and one air vent. And here's a big difference. We have this screen placed up top rather than being connected to the gauge cluster. But you have all these icons here, and you have shortcuts on the left side, just like you saw the shortcuts in the lower section for the BMW. Now you have air vents underneath that, and then you do get an additional screen for all of the climates. So that way you can go through all of these. You get heated seats, temperature dials that you can get into, and then we do have some different driving modes for this model that you didn't see in the BMW, so you can go through all of those. There's engine start stop, traction control, parking sensors, a downhill assist, and you can shut that upper screen off. You get some auxiliaries, a little bit of storage, along with power and tuning, more storage on that one side. And then we do have a similar camera system as far as being able to see around the entire vehicle. So just a little bit different of a layout. You have the e-brake, cup holders, and storage with an auxiliary. And then storage in the glove box there, pretty similar to the BMW. You get garage door buttons, the touch sensitive dome lights, and then you get the front part of the sunroof that opens, and then the rest of the sunshade there that you can use as needed. And then here's a look at visibility. Probably going to be very similar, just with their overall shapes and those pillars in the back. But with the exteriors and interiors wrapped up, let's get both of these SUVs out on the road and see how they compare. So let's start off behind the wheel of the Q5. And with a mild acceleration, you can tell it's not a loud vehicle from this 4-cylinder here, as to be expected. But with the Q5, you have a lot of different options. You can also bump up to the SQ5 if you want a lot more power. So you have the two different versions, depending on what you want to spend, depending on the power, of course, that you want. Both are going to offer quite a lot of options. It's a very nice driving vehicle. I get to drive these a good bit. You have a very quiet place to be. I like for the smaller size too, you have a lot of interior space, which is nice. So if you're not looking for a large SUV, this and the BMW, you have two smaller size options that will give you a lot of space on the interior without feeling too confined or too restricting, which is great. But it's a nice seating position here, very nice seats with the bolster support. Paddles are also very responsive. We do have the 7-speed dual clutch, which is just going to be a little bit different, of course, than the 8-speed in the BMW, but very smooth nonetheless for this luxury SUV. And it's a great option. You can tow a little bit too if you get the towing package. So if you want to throw on a small trailer, 4,400 pounds is pretty respectable for this vehicle here. And it would make for a great daily driver. You have not a whole lot to go through here, which is nice. So everything is laid out very well, so it's not too confusing. And just would be a good option to go with. So let's hop behind the wheel now of the BMW and see the differences. And behind the wheel now for the BMW, I have it in sport mode, second gear. Here we go. And with a mild acceleration, it sounds pretty similar to the Audi, of course, having a similar engine. And this is what it's like. We have the paddle shifters, which are a little bit larger, and you have the option of holding on this left one to enter boost mode. So it has a timer from 10 seconds, and if you're in maybe 5th or 6th gear, it will actually drop 2 or 3 gears to give you additional power to get up and move. So it will downshift that many, and it's a smooth transition just to give you a little bit more power for merging, getting up to speed, something like that. So that is one difference. However, we still have very similar horsepower and torque figures with both of these models. Now, as far as the seating position goes, it's pretty similar. We have the height adjustable seat, so that way you can do that depending on how tall you are. I can see a little bit more of the hood on the BMW with the seat and how I would sit with this position. So kind of the same. We have some thin pillars here so you can see. And again, for its smaller size, you have a pretty good amount of interior space. We have some pros and cons for both of these models. So again, just depends on what you like and the feeling of driving both of these models. Now, like I said, I've driven both of these a good bit, and they kind of have a similar driving feel to them. They're both luxury focused, smaller size SUVs. So they're going to give you a comfortable and refined feel for their price tags. Now, I know a lot of people from previous videos have complained about the sunroof not opening in the BMW, and I could see it going both ways. Personally, I never use the sunroof in my X5, so the sunshade is always closed. I never open the sunroof, hardly ever. So for me, I'd be fine with this or not even having the glass, but I think it's cool. Maybe it'd be neat if they had some kind of technology where you didn't need the shade and you could just push a button and it would block the sun or not block the sun as needed. Both of these are going to have very tight turning radiuses. I didn't really test that in the Audi as much, but these are some great options to go with. So back from our test drive now with the BMW X3 and the Audi Q5. I've been able to drive both of these models pretty often to really get a good feel at what both of these have to offer. They're going to be nearly identical in their overall drive. These aren't the performance versions, so you can get more power if you would like, but with both of these vehicles, you have a much different exterior as well as interior design and features that are going to vary. So it really just depends on which model you like. I know a lot of people aren't quite a huge fan of the new design for the X3. It's slowly growing on me after driving them and being around them often. Can't go wrong with the Audi either though, just has that classic Audi design to it. So comment down below. For me, I might go with the BMW. I own a BMW, I own an Audi too, so I'm a little bit split on this comparison here. I'd go with the performance versions, but you really can't go wrong with the X3 or the Q5. So comment down below, which model are you taking, Audi or BMW? If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.